Like the real estate gods decided that we are going to have an amazing year if you're in the business.
Yeah.
The problem with that is these brokerages that are doing nothing right just happen to be in the right business.
Yeah.
You're in real estate.
Yeah.
That's a big problem because they're being rewarded falsely.
Yeah.
And those are going to be out of business 2 to 3, 4 years from now. And they don't even know it.
How do you recruit and retain happy agents? I'm on a mission to answer that question by talking with the unsung heroes that empower real estate agents. I'm Seth Price. Tune in each week as I sit down with back office heroes to learn what's working and what's not.
I'm so psyched to chat with you. I feel like this, the pandemic may be part of it, but this whole concept of not being able to see people and my reticence to travel right now, I miss you.
I miss you too, dude. Actually, you popped up on one of my iPhone pictures that says, "Hey, remember this?" I'm like, "Oh, that's right. I do remember that." In New Orleans, you were eating and we crashed you eating breakfast. Remember that?
I remember that. You and Nick.
Yeah, that picture popped up. I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
That's fantastic. Well, I'm super psyched. I feel like you have been the master of systems, and we've talked about it over the years, but I have thought about it. And now that I'm, trying to focus on how do we, at least at Placester, we're building more tools and serving more back office folks. So, providing sites to brokerages and to their agents and tools to manage all that. I've really become curious about how people are using those systems for their teams and their brokerages. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation. So I think it's super timely.
Well, I'm excited, dude, because I think that is the secret to getting more done. And creating the right systems and processes and then hiring the right people to be able to do those. Right. But that's tough, man. I think a lot of people take on too much and realize too late that they could have grown and they missed an opportunity because they didn't hire out or they didn't create the right processes or systems.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I even find it, I manage a pretty sizable team and I find myself, sometimes it happens less frequently, but sometimes feeling like I can do something better than someone else. And so I'll do it myself. I mean, fortunately now in all the different skill sets that work in the team. So I run product marketing, and some other ancillary things within the company. And the people that I've hired are better than me at many of those things. So the tables have turned a little bit. But it's really hard. It's hard when you feel like you know how to do something and you just don't want to give it up. Like, how did you, I'm curious for you, like, how did you get to the point where you're like, I don't need to do this. I need to hire a good admin. And, we'll talk about the type of team that you have. What was the tipping point for you?
The tipping point for me, it started with real estate. And then I'll then show you the evolution of it.
Yeah.
But it was when I had just started in real estate, 03, 04.
Okay.
And as I was growing, I came into an amazing market. Everything was very similar to this market.
Today, I know.
But not even close, because today's market is insanely better. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But very similar. And I was really busy. I was closing a lot of transactions. And I realized really quickly, I was like, I can't handle this. I mean, I was already married at the time. So my wife would come with me to show property at like 8 p.m. Right.
Oh, she's a love.
And she's awesome, by the way. She's a trooper with me. And so we would go to all these places anytime. Anybody would call me. I'd be like, what do you want to see? I'm there right now.
Yeah.
Right. And that was part of the success, but it was also exhausting a little bit.
Yeah.
And the challenge is that that's my passion at the time. Right. So it didn't really run me down that much.
Yeah.
And if you've read the book Limitless by Jim Quick,
okay,
says, focus on your passions. Focus on your passions, and it feels like you're not doing any work, right? The reason people get burned out is because they're not doing things they enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And so I'm enjoying this. I'm doing great, but I hate the paperwork.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, oh, dude, I hate. And then it would just stack up and up and up. And I would be like, I realized really quickly that I needed somebody to handle the paperwork. So I hired, my very first hire was a transaction coordinator. I hired to my weakness. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I kept on doing what I loved doing, right? Which was going to talk to people and making the deals happen through the relationships.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, you know, I'm also generating all these leads now through Craigslist at the time.
Oh, I remember when you could do that.
Remember that, dude? That was awesome.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't handle this many leads because I can't call every single one that comes through. I either need to hire somebody to pick up the phone and call them, or I need to either hire another me, like an agent, to be able to take care of them. And that's when I started the team at that point.
Yeah.
And so that's how I first leveraged. But the challenge even then, like if I could go back, I wish that somebody would have stopped me and said, hey, you probably need to hire somebody for your systems.
Yeah.
Because you're not that great at them.
Uh-huh.
And you probably need to follow up with all of your past clients so you can get more repeat referral business because you're terrible at that part. Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that until way later, but it was through failing a lot. And so now with what we're talking about is you fast forward now to Lab Code Agents and through the consulting company I have and everything else. And it's like, I don't want to go through that again.
Exactly.
That hurt a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I was like, let's do it right. Let's sit back. Here's the key.
Mm-hmm.
In your calendar, I found 3 things that are important to have all the time. And this is based from Seth. One of the things that I had to stop and do was to start taking time to learn, right? Start taking time to help me grow mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, me, the self.
Yeah.
Once I started realizing that it was up to me, right? It was after I read the book Extreme Ownership by Jocko. I was like, you're telling me that it's just up to me this whole time? I felt like an idiot.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And every time you follow him on social, you're like, damn, he makes you feel so stupid. Like, damn it.
He does.
And that's just me. Anyway, when I realized that, I was like, all right, let's take care of me first. Because if I don't take care of me first, I can't show up my best self for my family.
Yeah.
I can't show up my best self for those around me, right? What am I going to be able to offer if I'm not performing the best that I can?
Yeah, if you're not healthy and you're not sane and you're relaxed, like all of those things you need to bring to the table.
That's where it started, right there.
Yeah.
And so when I realized that, I'm like, okay, now let's identify the 3 things that I need in my calendar on a daily, weekly basis. And that's number 1, I need time to think. I need time to create.
Yeah.
Right. So that's in my calendar, time to think, create. Next, I need to find time for my priorities. What are those priorities, right? Those are your massive goals broken into action steps. That's number 2.
Yeah.
And then once I identify, okay, those 2, then I'm like, well, I also find that throughout the day, I find that I'm responding to a text or responding to email or responding to social media over here.
Yeah.
Or returning a voicemail, an email, anything. And so I have a catch-all time. I have 3 times for that. So once I identified those, then I gave myself enough time to focus on the things that I wanted to focus on without being interrupted with everything else. And it allowed me time to reflect. And when I reflected, I focused more on my strengths. And I was like, Tristan, what are you great at? Right?
Yeah.
What are you absolutely? And that was at the time, I was like, well, it looks like I'm great at creating content, right?
Yeah.
And then systematizing things. So why don't we go deep on that, right?
Yeah.
And so I allowed myself to grow because I finally realized
to focus on the things you're good at. Yeah. That's hard. I mean, it's hard to, we're such a do environment, right? One, there's a lot of things where the tail wags the dog, right? We're in a trigger environment. Hey, someone calls and says, I've got a listing, or I think I want to sell my house. It's like the dog starts shaking because, hey, there's a opportunity there. Or you have someone says, oh, I want to close, or you have a problem at a listing It's like things have to go into action to solve those things. And it's really hard, and it takes a lot of discipline to carve out strategy time and to carve out think time.
You know what it is too? All of the things that are continually making us react, because we react a lot. They're taking up our time to create, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where the magic started happening for me, because I realized, like, okay, I can do this, but I can't do all of this other stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the moment I started focusing on those things that I'm amazing at, which aren't very much, by the way, Seth, just once I realized, oh damn, that's all I'm good at.
Yeah.
Then I went all in on that, and I'm like, let's break it down. I'll give you an example. And here's one thing that I created. I'm gonna see if I can pop it onto my screen just so I can show you.
Yeah.
All right. So this I created last year.
Okay.
And I wanted to see where I was heading as a company, right? For one of my other companies. But it started with that. It started with the director of operations. And I had failed so much in the past that I was like, damn it, what do I need, right?
Yeah.
And it's just somebody to organize the back end, because as good as I am, I'm so distracted by everything else.
Shiny ball.
Dude, everywhere, right? So I need somebody to keep on going in the direction that I know I'm supposed to be going.
Yeah.
That will allow me to continually do what I do. And dude, part of it here, I'll go back to you and then I'll share it. But part of what we do best is the innovation through discovery, right? We have to allow ourselves to continually go to shiny objects.
Yeah.
Because that's what allows us to be like, whoa, that's really cool. And you learn from it, then you can apply it, right? So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but if we don't have somebody who's taking us in that direction while we're distracted, I found that that's where I failed.
Is that, so you said your first hire was transaction coordinator when you were starting your team, or before you started your team?
Before I started the team, that was my first hire.
How big is your team now?
My team is currently 14, a total of 14, including 3 staff members.
Okay. And those 3 staff members are broken up. Like what do they do?
Staff members I have as a lead coordinator, somebody who fields all the leads and takes care of the tech on the back end. Yeah. I have a director of ops who kind of runs the back end of everything, right? Yeah. That person who's telling me where to go after I told her where to go. Now she reminds me. Right?
Yeah.
And then the other person is a marketing director.
Okay.
Right? And then I have a few VAs doing the ISA work, but I don't consider them as being part of the full-time staff, because they're also helping out with part of the other businesses.
And the support of the rest of the 11 members, is that right? Or 11 or 12 members that are actively helping folks buy and sell homes. Who does that? Is that you? Or?
So I've broken it down so that it's more manageable for me. Because one of the things that I noticed early on was all the agents would come to me, right? And it would get really challenging. So I decided to create team leaders inside of the team. So it created 2 things. One, it created the ability for the team to be able to feel like there's growth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's the number one killer of teams, right?
Yeah. Stagnancy.
They feel like, well, I can't grow here. I'm just going to go somewhere else and start my own thing.
Yeah.
So I gave them the ability to grow within the team and to grow their own team within my team, while I'm still supplying all of the staff, systems, processes, leads, tech, everything.
Yeah.
And so now I have 5 team leaders, right? That we just promoted 2 of them, right? So we're very, very picky when it comes to hiring agents now.
Yeah.
Because we can be. So
yeah.
And the price point that we have is insane. Like average price point is $4 million, right? So it requires a different type of an agent, right?
Yeah.
And we can't afford to hire a bad agent because then it gives us a bad name.
And do you have, or do you struggle at all with turnover? I mean, I know that there's lots of folks coming into the market and basically using dollars to recruit.
I was before.
Yeah.
But it's been such a long time since I struggled with that. And the number one reason is because when I hire now, I make it a team effort, right? Mm-hmm. I include my team leaders in the interview. There are different phases to the interview process.
Yeah.
And there are two things that I look for. One is character, right? I need to make sure that you got what it takes.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we look for is an agent who has been an agent on their own and has tried it, but failed dramatically.
And when you say failed, like, what do you mean? Like
they tried going on and doing this on their own as an agent.
Yeah.
But they're like, damn it, it didn't work. This is tougher than I thought. A lot tougher than I thought. We love those people because they come in and all of a sudden, like 2-3 months in, they're already closing.
Yeah.
And they're like, whoa, we had it all wrong. This is an amazing place. Right? If it wasn't for the team and the systems and the processes and the support and the leads and everything that you've given us, because we failed and we understand that it's tough, we appreciate it more. Right? So we love those people.
Are you trying, not to take you off track there, are you trying to remove as much distraction as possible from the agents? Is that sort of like when I read through the lines, I'm like, okay, you're handling leads. You've got an ISA for the leads. You've got transaction coordinator.
Yep.
I mean, you're like handling all of the pieces. So hopefully the agent can just do what they do.
That's it, dude. Honestly, that's what it comes down to. If you look at what Zillow and Redfin are trying to do for the consumer, we're trying to do the same thing for the real estate agent, right? And I'm part owner into a brokerage as well and a title company, and we try to do the same thing for the agents there, but it's different. So if I was saying, hey, look, real estate, the Tristan and Associates brand is my only thing that I'm focusing on, I would definitely expand it and make it much bigger. But because we've got lab coat agents, right?
Yeah.
And then now we have a brilliant tribe as a consulting company. I have to spread myself and be like, okay.
Yeah. How big do I want to?
Yeah. Which one do I want to grow massively? Where's the bigger opportunity? Right. And so that's what I find myself doing. But regardless of where you are, you really, if you want to grow, you definitely need to delegate. And you need to delegate to people that have talent and people that have the right character. Right. Yeah. And that I think is the biggest challenge, man. Finding those people that can help you grow and not have this fixed mindset. Like, why are they growing? Right. What's wrong with me? Why are they there? Right. But choose to have that growth mindset where they look at success and they're inspired and motivated by it. That's the biggest issue.
Being part of the team. Do you think if we step back a little bit, you said something like, hey, Zillow and Redfin are trying to do this by streamlining the process for the consumer. And you're trying to streamline the process for the agent so they can really be their best selves for the customer. Yep. Do you think that that's where we're going in this industry? It's like the players that are going to succeed. Yeah, because it seems like there's two places to compete. You can compete on commission for agents.
Yeah.
Or services.
Well, there's two things happening right now.
Okay.
One is that you have these massive brokerages and in some cases, small brokerages, independent, that think they're doing something right because everything has aligned. Like the real estate gods decided that we are going to have an amazing year if you're in the business.
Yeah.
The problem with that is these brokerages that are doing nothing right just happen to be in the right business.
Yeah.
They're in real estate. Yeah. That's a big problem because they're being rewarded falsely.
Yeah.
And those are going to be out of business 2 to 3, 4 years from now. And they don't even know it. dude, you see it all over the news. They're like, oh my gosh, look at the numbers we produced. I'm like, you're not doing anything different. You're not innovating. Let's take a look at the back. Who's really innovating, right? Not those people. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two is more challenging because it's a combination of, and you started to see it with Keller Williams. And look, I'm brand agnostic. I love everybody.
Yeah.
Right. But you started to see it with Keller, and then you started definitely seeing with EXP. Mm-hmm. It's that agents want something in return now.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not something that's being talked about a lot. You just see it. It's like an attraction. People want to go to EXP because of the stock and because of the rev share, right? Yeah. They're being able to grow something outside of real estate. It's attractive to them.
A career and an investment at the same time.
Yeah. And I think the future of what this looks like is, well, okay, this is cool because I think EXP is doing something really cool, right?
Yeah.
And I think what's next into this phase is like, well, what else can the real estate agent get on top of what they're currently getting? Are they going to be able to invest as part of a brokerage into real estate investments, into a trust, right? Yeah. What does this look like? I think we're barely stepping into the future of what this looks like. And EXP has opened it up more. Yeah. I think EXP is the middle company. I don't know what comes up after that. I know Glenn's super smart. He's a good friend of mine.
He's a great guy.
So, to see the evolution of EXP too is super cool. But also to see what's next for Keller, because Gary is not an idiot.
Yeah.
Gary's extremely smart too. What's next for them? And you look at what Compass is doing, what Compass is doing can only work to an extent, right?
And why do you say that? Tell me more there.
Well, what starts happening is you can't buy everybody forever. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
And you can't say that you're innovative by purchasing all the companies.
Yeah.
You can't say that because at some point you're going to mismanage some of the tech. Look at realtor.com.
Yeah.
They buy every company and run it to the ground. Right. Mm-hmm. And then they have to sell it at a discount. That's not innovative. They've been trying to catch up to Zillow for years.
Yeah.
So you have to look at things that way and say, okay, well, let's take a look, right? What's really happening in our industry? Mm-hmm. Where are the opportunities, right? And yeah, there are going to be more Zillows and Redfins and Open Doors and CoStar is going to get into the picture more. But there's always going to be an agent.
Yeah.
They're going to, the agents that we see now, we're probably going to see only 80% of those in the future. 20% are going to be slashed. The rest of the 80% are either going to be in niches like luxury, because you don't need to be in a team on luxury.
Yeah.
You just need to produce a few deals and you need to be great, right? You need that trust. Or you need to be massive teams, these mega teams, right? You're going to start seeing more teams like my friend Robert Slack from Florida, right? You're going to start seeing more massive teams like Gary Aston's and all of these massive teams that are breaking $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion in a year, right?
And is that, I wonder where the model breaks. Like, okay, so I understand the team and the teamerage approach, but it feels like we've got two things going on. One is there's the whole like boundary of employee independent contractor side on one side. And then there's we've got the traditional brokerages that have often high overhead and lower margins. Yeah. And it just feels like there's less and less to go around, if that makes sense.
Dude, that's true. Look at the 100%ers, right? There's a lot of them coming out. The challenge is this: how long can the traditional brokerage remain where it's at? Mm-hmm. Because EXP has proven that you don't really need the traditional brokerage. They're removing the broker from the middle, right? They're just a whole bunch of teams now. You don't need a broker, right? What does that evolve to next?
But you need support. And so the question is where does the support come from?
Here's where it's coming from, right? you look at what we created back in 2014, right? We created a massive community of support, right?
You mean in lab code agents?
In lab code agents.
Okay.
Right? Now you look at what companies like Keller Williams and EXP and some other companies are creating. They're creating a big group of support and letting the agents run that support, right? Where you don't need, I mean, dude, you really don't need a broker at this point. If you have a strong support system through a community that you've built through an EXP, and I'm Keller Williams, okay? I'm pushing the evolution of what real estate looks like, whether you like it or not, because I get to see it on all levels, and I get to talk to these people at a high level. Like, the world is changing around you. The world is changing, and you need to look at where it's heading, because by the time it gets there, it'll look completely different. And there's no reason I need a broker at this point. You don't. What EXP has done with one broker per state, right? Eliminating that broker split for the most part, that's where we're heading.
Interesting.
Because, dude, look at Big Block. Big Block's a great company out of San Diego. It's run by Sam Karamian, one of my friends.
Okay.
It's 100%. It's a 100% model.
Yeah.
Where they make their money are off of the fees and off of everything else that they add to it. Oh, you want us to promote over here? It's this. Oh, you want this feature? It's this much. Oh, you want this? It's this. Right. So there's that model.
It's a la carte model.
You got it. And so I don't think we're there where we're going to get to. That's going to be like, okay, now we're here for a little while. I don't think we're there yet. I think what's happening right now is that go ahead.
No, I was going to say this. The squeeze will happen again. I mean, similar to 2008, where the market changed and then a contraction has to happen. I think I don't know, because it's hard for me to predict sort of where it's going to shake out: broker, team, agent, 100%, 0%, whatever those things are. But what I can say is, I lived through that shift where the folks that really weren't making a lot of money anyway, like they didn't have a great business. They didn't have any business once it contracted. And those that did, they really ran a business at the time. When it contracted, they still had business to work on because they had their systems in place. That's fascinating. Well, so what do you
look at what happened with, I'm just adding other stuff. Remember, I'm brand agnostic. Okay. I'm just telling you the facts of what I see.
Yeah.
Look what happened with the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. He left to go run a massive mega team run by our friend Ben Kinney.
Yeah.
He's running what is that? Place? Is that what it's called? Place?
Yeah. Yep.
And dude, that's indicative of what's happening. Right.
Interesting.
This whole future of what we see is going to be teams. We don't know what teams are going to look like, but they function like exactly like you and I talked about. We're removing the friction for the agents, right? And it comes down to a team model.
Interesting. And have you looked at, like, I've been watching Fathom a little bit. It seems to mimic what EXP is doing to a certain extent.
They're missing something, dude. I've talked to them too, intimately. And I said, you guys are missing a leader, a leader that's out there so that you guys have a better perception. Look, Keller Williams has got Gary. Everybody freaking knows Gary Keller, right? EXP's got Glenn. He's getting out there. He's doing a pretty good job, right?
Yeah. Well, you remember when he was in the RV.
I do remember, dude. He goes, Tristan, you got to jump on EXP. I'm still Keller, right? He goes, you got to jump on EXP. I'm going around the nation on this RV. I'm like, dude, an RV? I'm like, I don't know about EXP, bro.
I used to go to conferences with him, and I was definitely wondering about the RV.
Yeah, me too.
He proved us all wrong.
He totally did. He rubbed that on me the other day. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I get it. Let's go back. Let's circle back. I want to circle back to systems because I feel like one of the things that I think you're really good at, you started to put the diagram together.
Yeah.
When you think about building the back office team to support your agents, you've got 3 folks that are critical. How did you get to the point where you could tell them what to do so that that director of operations could hold you accountable? Because that's what I heard you say.
Yeah, part of it is the experience of running these companies,
yep.
and knowing what I expect based on what's happening or what's happened.
Yeah.
The other part is letting them grow into the position and letting them tell me, hey, this is what we're noticing, right? You should be doing this. You should be doing that. And I think that in itself, you as a leader, being able to sit back and listen and know that you don't know everything and that everything's continually changing. And what you thought to be true might not be true.
Yeah.
I think just having that mindset allows you to be able to grow and adapt quickly, right? Because you and I have seen companies go up and then all of a sudden crash.
Yeah.
Because of the lack of flexibility, man. I think that's key.
Yeah. And so when you think about if you were going to put together a playbook for someone, building their back office, what would be the playbook for doing that?
Well, I think you have to start and see, well, what are your strengths? I always say, well, what are your strengths? Because I did create something. You saw that chart that I have. I did create that, and I'll share it with you. I'm looking at some notes that I took the other day. So I'm always taking notes, right?
Yeah,
I love
them. Notebooks filled throughout the years.
Dude, me too.
I love going back to them.
And yeah, the key is going back to them, right? Finding the time to go back to them. Let me pop up the screen just so I can show you what we've done and give people an idea of what to do. Here is what we would envision a real estate company or even a smaller company looking like as it continues to grow. The number one person you're going to hire is an executive admin that can then turn into a director of operations, right?
Got it.
So you click on it, you can see their roles. That's a director of ops. I'll send this link over to you after.
Okay, perfect.
So now you go, where am I already at, right? And when I looked at the very first thing I did as an agent is I hired a lead coordinator way back.
Okay.
Right. And then I built out these arms. I actually built out these arms, right? Back then.
Okay. And you're saying today for the things that are the arms, you're doing VA style.
I mean, it's a combination. I have 19 virtual assistants right now.
Okay. That sounds like a lot.
Yeah, it is 19. And that's half of my staff. The other staff is in-house, but they're still spread. So I would say, look at where you're at. Look at what you need. My big bet would be on this, man. Look, let's just play a game right now. Right here. Most visited websites in the world. And I misspelled something there, but let's hope it pops up. All right. We got this thing that came out January 27th of this year. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Number 1 is Google, but check this out. Top 10. Forget the 2 porn sites at the bottom, okay?
Yeah.
Let's go to the top 6. Google, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Wiki, Instagram. 4 of those are social media.
Yeah.
YouTube, Facebook, Twitter.
2 of them owned by the same company.
These 2.
Yeah.
And everywhere you go on here, they're always going to throw in a video that retargets you to YouTube.
Yeah.
This doesn't even count really. It's just directing you.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, check this out. 4 out of the top 6 are social. Now you go here. It's like, well, damn, maybe your next hire should actually be a video editor, or maybe it should be a marketing manager that outlines what you need to do with your ads, social media manager, content creator, graphic design. And that's what I looked at this and I'm like, crap, I've been doing it all wrong. Right.
And what were you doing before? Like what was all wrong?
I was focusing more on the growth of the agents, but here's what did it for me. One of the interviews that I did was with Ryan Serhant, and Ryan said something and I was like, whoa, 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 what? And one of those things that he said was like, dude, I'm the brand.
Yeah.
I'm the brand. And I'm the one spending my money spreading everywhere and creating opportunities for everybody. He goes, if you run it like that, you'll never go out of business. Everybody's going to come to you. And I'm like, okay. So then that made me reflect. And then I Googled that. And even last year was the same thing. But when I Googled
it's been like that for a while.
When I Googled it, I was like, okay, let's redirect our sources. And now, instead of doing what I was doing before, I want to blow up on social more. Because that's already my strength. So why don't I just go all in and hire a marketing manager, an ads manager, a graphic designer, a video editor, right? And start just creating more content. And when you start thinking that way, dude, your reticular activating system just starts grabbing everything that has everything to do with that.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, there's another opportunity. Oh, there's that. Right. And then all of a sudden, the perception starts growing in the right direction by your agents saying, dude, you're everywhere. And then they start seeing it more as an opportunity. And then you become more relevant. And in their eyes, you become more innovative.
Yeah.
Right. So, dude, it all plays into it.
Do you think that, for the teams that are larger or the brokerages that are larger, and I don't, let's say 75 to 150 folks, do you think it's imperative to drive leads? Because it feels like there's a dissipating effect. It's like you get less efficiency as the organization gets bigger.
I think that's a good point, but I think it has to happen in a certain way, right? When you're talking about massive teams and brokerages, they have to offer these opportunities in a way that allows the agent, again, to focus on what it is that they're great at.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example here. If you are focusing, let's say, on the thing that I like to call the Google 5, right?
Yeah.
Which is reviews, local service ads, SEO, PPC, and YouTube. Right. By the way, everyone should be doing that, right? Those are the 5 things. And leads are coming through because you're doing all of those on Google, right? Notice I didn't say put your reviews on Zillow, right? I did not say put your reviews on Google. When the leads come through, there are processes in place that allow that agent to function better as a real estate agent and not as an ISA. The leads come through, an ISA picks it up, knows what to say. If they're ready to go, it sends them in. If they're not, they nurture them through our systems and through a process that they have. So when they're ready, they get sent out to the agent because that's what the agent wants. What do they always gravitate to? They gravitate to all the hot leads and they leave all the rest of them just laying there in the CRM.
Unnurtured and smoldering.
So why do we think that they're going to do anything different? They're not.
Yeah.
So we need to put everything in place in between, regardless of how many leads are coming through. Look, my friend, I brought him up. Robert Slack runs the #1 team in the world. Spends $800,000 a month just on Realtor.com. Just on Realtor.com. That's not including PPC and everything else.
Yeah.
All of the leads that come through, he's got 50 ISAs. 50. Dialing, calling, nurturing, right? His database is massive. So now he's realizing he's got so many people in the database that part of the ISA team are just calling the database.
Yeah, they're nurturing the database.
That's it. And they're going to those people that are revisiting, favoriting, and saving properties and sending them to client and raising their hand saying, hey, I want to see this one. So you have to remove as much as you can from the agent because you're just making them fail. Like, do you really think that real estate agents are going to have the time to call and follow up while they're trying to work right now, negotiating like one offer because you've seen like 20 properties and they've written like 20 offers and they're getting blown up over here by this client and over here, and they're doing an open house and they're worried about their social media. Do you really think they're going to be nurturing the leads?
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No. So it falls on us, regardless of the size, right? And so if you follow the model here, this allows you to be able to add as you grow. Like, look, you got a lead coordinator. He's the quarterback for all the leads. You got an ISA. Here's what they do. You can add to that. You got your team over here on the marketing side. You have somebody that understands what's happening to tech, because guess what happens as you grow? Like, I don't have time to look at all the technology and make sure that it's functioning the right way. Make sure that the lead, as it comes through, it's working in the right way and getting assigned to whoever in the right way.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you scale those 19 folks up and down?
Yeah, I do. Definitely.
Because that's one of the things that, is always a concern, is like the cost of the back office team, right?
Yeah, it's a challenge, dude. I think that's a big challenge. But look, the people that have been with me have been with me for such a long time.
Yeah.
Because I do take care of them. Like they definitely want to stay, because number one, I treat them like they're my friends, because they are, right?
Yeah.
And I treat them well when it comes down to getting paid, and belonging to something that's bigger than they are. And that's part of the vision, right?
Yeah. Well, Tristan, this has been fantastic. I love Lab Coats. If anyone hasn't joined Lab Coats, of course you should. It's a great community. I think you've got lots of different aspects of it. You've got the broker community. You've got the open one. Tell me a little bit more about Lab Coats so people can know.
We've got the referrals. That's a crazy world out there.
Yeah. That's a crazy. I can't even look at that. That makes my head spin.
I don't even look at it because I hate it.
Yeah.
I just stay out of that one.
Yeah.
But look, the Lab Coat Agents one is great. We got 140,000 people. We're about to launch LCA Prime or Premium. Sorry, LCA Premium. Yeah. And that's an app on the iPhone, Android, iPad, and its own website. Or we're trying to see if maybe a more curated group of real estate agents, brokers, and team members can contribute and grow without that noise that we get from Facebook.
Yeah. Yep.
So we'll see how that goes. We're launching that next month. And then you have our YouTube page, you have our newsletter. I think between everything, we've got like 500,000 people, which is pretty good.
Which is pretty good, man. Well, I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for your time sharing. And of course, if someone wants to find you, where do they go?
Go to Instagram. It's probably the easiest. It's Tristan.Ahumada.
Awesome.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you so much, man. I'll speak to you later. All right. Bye-bye.